Hi, I bet you that by the end of the video, I have convinced you that follow your passion is terrible advice that is actually stopping you from finding work you love. Ready? Let's go. All the insights that I am about to show you come from the book So Good They Can't Ignore You. And the core question that is answered in this book is, how do people end up with a career they love? And the most common answer to this question is follow your passion. But the author is very skeptical of this advice. If we would formalize it into a theory, first you need to find a passion, then make it your work, and that will lead to career happiness and success. But there are three problems with this theory. The first problem is that passion is rare. If you ask most people, they don't have a passion that they can easily match with work. Second, there is very little evidence that having a pre-existing passion is a major driver for career satisfaction. If you look into the science and the academic papers that study what drives career satisfaction, you discover that there are 5 very important components that drive career satisfaction, but none of them is passion. I will tell you in a bit what these 5 are. And the third problem is that it doesn't actually explain how people end up with a career they love. Because CAL Newport, the author, went and interviewed a lot of people that loved their work, and 9 out of 10 people didn't say that they have a passion that they follow. They did something else. So if you look into the science and you look into the stories, none of them actually tell you that passion is really important for finding work you love. So what does the science actually say? What are the 5 components that drive career satisfaction? Control, creativity, impact, mastery, and good professional relationships. These are the 5 most important elements that you want to have in your job if you want to be happy. And for the next moments, let's just focus on these 3. So what you notice is that any jobs that are high in control, creativity, and impact are very desired jobs. Imagine you could control on what you work or where you work from or when you work. So you could work from the beach, for example. And a job that is also high in impact. That's basically a job that a lot of people want to have. It's a very desired job that is high in demand. And so the next question is, how do you get such a job? It's not like you can just go to your boss and say, hey boss, starting next Monday, I want to only work 4 hours a day and I don't want to work on that project anymore. I want to work on this project because it's more fun. That's very nice, but you're fired. If you want a job that is very desired, then you need to give something in return. And what you need to give in return are valuable skills. You need to be really good at what you do. Or in other words, you need to be so good they can't ignore you. That's probably why he called it that way. Anyways, here is where he starts making the argument that skills are more important than passion to find work that you love. So you want to focus less on passion and more on rare and valuable skills. And notice the rare and valuable here. Because imagine you are really good at what you do and you're the only one in your company that can do this very critical, essential task. And if this task doesn't get done, then there are problems. And now you can be confident and say to your boss something like, hey boss, I don't want to work on Fridays anymore. And actually, I only want to work from home office from now on. I would prefer to tell you no, but since you're very essential to us, I guess I have to say yes. Maybe he wouldn't say it exactly like that. But the point is that if you accumulate rare and valuable skills and you're really good at what you do, that likely will also give you a lot of job opportunities. You can use these opportunities strategically to gain more control, creativity, or impact, whatever you prefer. And so this explains how you get a good job. But I still had the question, a good job is nice, but will you love it? And luckily, he also answers that question because he argues that mastery creates passion. So CAL Newport points into research that demonstrates that once you acquire skills, the passion follows. And here we see that focusing on improving skills gets you a good job and later leads you to develop a passion for that work. But here, maybe you're not so convinced and you point to Joe and you say, hey, Joe is really passionate about music and he made it his work and he's really happy. So it seems that the passion theory at least works for some people. CAL Newport is not impressed by this argument. Just because you can't point to one example doesn't prove that this theory is advice that you can give to everybody. And even further, he argues that the passion theory is dangerous. And to explain this point, he contrasts the passion mindset with the Craftsman mindset. And the passion mindset lets you to focus on what value is the job giving me? The Craftsman mindset, the mindset of trying to become really good at something, focuses you on what value can I bring to the job? What is the problem with focusing on this? The problem, he argues, is that it makes you hyper aware of what you dislike about the job. So there might be a job that you kind of like, but you're always like, I don't like this aspect of the job, I don't like that aspect of the job. And you're constantly dissatisfied in small ways. And even further, it makes you ask yourself certain questions. Questions like, do I really like this job? Do I really love it? Is this the right job for me? In certain contexts, these are questions that you want to ask, but the problem with these questions is that they can never really be answered with a clear yes or no. And this leads to doubt, which leads to chronic unhappiness, which leads to job hopping. Since you always find some problems with one job and things that you dislike, then you see another job which might be more passionate for you. But once it gets difficult, you start looking at the other job and you have this type of the grass is greener on the other side syndrome, thinking that the next job is the one that is actually going to make you happy. But the very big problem that this has is that you never get to develop rare and valuable skills, which never leads you to have more opportunities that you can later change for more control, creativity, or impact. And this is how paradoxically focusing on your passion makes you less likely that you end up passionate. Coming back to the Craftsman mindset, this focuses you on being thoughtful, deliberate, strategic, and disciplined about your work. It moves you away from questions like these, and instead you ask yourself, how can I do a better job? What skills would make me more valuable? And these are much better questions to ask because they can actually be answered. But you might still not be completely convinced. And you point to Joe again and you say, yes, that's true, skills matter, but Joe got really good at what he does because he is really passionate about it. But CAL Newport anticipates this objection. This argument basically says you can only become really good at something if you're passionate about it. But he disagrees. You don't need passion to become good. Instead, you need strategy and discipline. But you could ask, what if I hate my job? And in this case, CAL Newport would agree with you. If you hate your job, or if you think it's useless or bad for the world, or if it makes you work with people that you really dislike, in that case, yes, it's not the right job. And becoming really good at it won't make you happy. So if it has any of these elements, it's not the right job, but that's not the situation most people find themselves in. And in this case, it's not passion that is going to help you become really good, but strategy and discipline will. And I actually think it's a lie that we get from the passion mindset, which takes power from us. You don't need passion to become really good at it. If you only have a mild interest and curiosity, that will be enough. Then discipline and strategy will be enough to become really good at it. Again, we see that passion is not the answer, but instead it's focusing on rare and valuable skills. However, this goes against everything that we've been hearing about career advice. And so many people misunderstand what CAL Newport is saying. So let me try to explain what CAL Newport is not saying. He is not saying, if you have a passion, do the opposite. That's not what he's saying. He's also not saying, it does not matter if you're passionate about your job or not. That's not it. Remember, he's trying to answer the core question, how do people end up with work they love? He wants to find the answer for himself because he wants to fall in love with his work as well. And he did and made his research, and what he found out and what he's saying is passion simply is not that important to find work you love. The thing is, we grow up in a culture that glorifies passion. Everybody says it's the number one thing to find career happiness and success. But CAL Newport simply argues that's not true. It's not that important. And so let me explain this point with two examples. Tom, who has no passion, and Joe, who has a passion. CAL Newport would say to Tom, good news, you don't need a passion to be happy at work. So stop obsessing if you have a passion or not. It's not that important. What is important is achieving a combination of these 5 elements in your job. And to get that, you need to become really damn good. So he would tell Tom, pick any field that mildly interests you, where you can trade your skills for more control, creativity, or impact. And then become so good they can't ignore you. And what would he tell Joe? He would say, hey, it's nice that you have a passion, but I have 2 questions for you. Is your passion in a field where you can trade your skills for more control, creativity, or impact? And if so, can you become so good that they can't ignore you in that field? So again, passion is simply not part of the equation. What is important is to acquire rare and valuable skills and then trade them for more control, creativity, and/or impact. And actually, this leads to more realistic expectations. So I wish I would have learned this when I was starting out with my career. Because yes, it's true, when you start out, you have few skills. And that means that you will also have a job that is low in control, creativity, and impact. In other words, you won't have a great job starting out. But the passion mindset always made me think that somehow, if it was the right job, I would love it from day one. But now I understand that it's less about finding the right work, and it's more about working right. And so it leads to the expectations that when you start out and your skills are low, you will have not a very good job. But that is only temporary. And once you start growing your skills, you start gaining more control, more creativity, and more impact. And at some point, you will have a lot of these, and you will have a great job that you actually love and that you're also passionate about. It only takes a little bit of patience. And this is an observation that I am making. CAL Newport doesn't mention it, but I think if you focus on working right, you will enjoy it from day one. Because yes, it's true, your job will be very low on all of these, but if you work right, you will start to become better at your job. and you will start feeling efficacious, like you're doing a great job. And I think that will also improve your relationships with your supervisors and co-workers. They respect you more because you're doing a great job. At least that was my experience. And so if you focus on working right, you will experience learning and growth, a higher respect from co-workers and superiors, and even a higher self-esteem, because at the end of the day, you can go back home and feel proud about the good job that you did. So you might not love your work, you might not be passionate about it, but you can still enjoy it from day one if you have the Craftsman mindset. And so we come to the key takeaways. Takeaway number 1, the passion theory is flawed because it has 3 problems. Problem number 1, passion is rare. Most people don't have a passion that they can match with their work. Problem number 2, there's little scientific evidence that it is a major driver for career satisfaction. And problem number 3, it doesn't explain how most people end up with work they love. Additionally, the passion mindset is dangerous. It makes you focus on what the job is giving you, which makes you hyper aware of what you dislike about the job, which leads to doubt, chronic unhappiness, and job hopping. So you never get to acquire rare and valuable skills to trade them for control, creativity, or impact. This is what matters, and so you need to acquire rare and valuable skills to trade them for control, creativity, and impact. And mastery will lead to passion, which leads to love. And this is what CAL Newport calls career capital theory, where you focus first on skills, which you use as leverage for more control, creativity, and impact. And this is how you end up with work you love. So how can you put it into action? I think there are 2 questions that you can ask yourself to apply the learnings from this book to your own life. Just ask yourself, is this a field where I can become so good they can't ignore me? And once I achieve that, can I trade my skills for more control, creativity, and impact? You might want to take a screenshot now. But I have more for you. Actually, I have just summarized part 1 of the book, which explains why skills are more important than passion. But there's a complete second part that explains exactly how you can become so good they can't ignore you. And it gives 3 key insights. It gives you a strategic insight into which skills to improve so that you can become as valuable as possible. Then it dives into performance science and gives you specific tips for effective skill building. And then it also gives you advice on how to trade your skills for more control, because it turns out you can make some mistakes there too. So I will summarize part 2 of the book next week. Subscribe if you don't want to miss out. That's it for this video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.